And we're live. Hello, I'm a few minutes late, having some connection issues over here in nature. I'm in isolation in nature. It's a new experience to live a few weeks in a tent and also to start doing lives and sharing what I can to uplift and empower during these strange times. Hello, ladies. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to wait just a little bit longer, see if anyone else is going to hop on in this next minute. I'm so excited. I'm also not too prepared, which I think is ideal in a circumstance like this, just to go live about a topic that I feel is really aligned. I feel passionate about it and actually my life in general, but right now I feel like it's special times that we have an opportunity to look a little bit deeper into our subconscious and meet the layers of ourselves that otherwise we can't really see or access because we're so busy in our daily lives and our commitments and our obligations and our pleasures and patterns. So now we have a chance to look a little bit deeper at ourselves and see maybe what parts of us are not fully aligned, are not fully serving us to live as our highest and best expressions of self. So I'll introduce the topic, although I'm sure you already know. Today I'm discussing facing our inner mean girl, or that inner critic. Hello, everybody. So nice to see you. So many waves. So the inner mean girl is a topic very dear to my heart because I tend to be very self-critical, very judgmental, which you may not assume from the outside. I tend to be pretty positive, but I think this is the most relatable thing about the inner critic, that we all have one. Every single one of us has that inner critic. Even the masters, even the people that seem like they have it all together, they also battle with those inner voices that are telling them they're not good enough, or they've done something wrong, or however the inner critic manifests. It's really unique for every one of us. It can manifest as like body issues, or maybe as perfectionism, the need to do everything exactly right, or different addictions to things to feel whole and complete. So it's really, really deep work. And today I just want to introduce it in a light way. How can we start to bring this inner critic, inner mean girl into awareness with love and with compassion, and basically make her our friend instead of our foe? Okay, so yeah, I just want to say again for myself that I'm bringing this topic because it's something I'm working with, and it's not like I'm a master in this case in any way, and that this voice can really go on automatic and basically control our lives if we don't bring it into awareness. So this isolation is a really beautiful opportunity, although probably very challenging for most of us, to see how when there's not these distractions, the voice tends to turn inward and start to attack the self. So let's look at that. And how we can do that first is acknowledge, where is it coming from? So this voice is typically, although we all have the inner critic, it's not actually ours. It typically comes from voices that we've picked up as we're growing up, maybe from our parents or our sister or our teachers. We've internalized these views about how to be a good girl. And I think it's especially strong in women. I don't want to say the inner critic is stronger in women than men, because we all have it. But I do want to acknowledge the fact that we were all brought up pretty much in a man's world, a world that has been created by men for men, meaning valuing like productivity and getting things done, and in this linear mindset of progress towards the future or for some profit over everything else. So we've basically internalized these values as women, which we are not linear creatures, we're very cyclical. We have bursts of inspiration, periods of tiredness, and we've had to basically try to mold ourselves into this world where success is defined by being consistently the best version of ourselves no matter what. So I think we often compare ourselves to these expectations of like, what does it mean to be a success? And it's not inherently in tune with what it is to be a woman. So just looking at that, and we can like step aside from maybe the patriarchal values for a little bit and really acknowledge like the fact that we're women and we are different, and the world has not been giving us that space necessarily to be this flower that blooms in her own timing. And if our inner voice is also not allowing for that, then we're basically constantly attacking ourselves and coming into criticism of ourselves. And this will, until we look at the voice and really name it for who she is and learn to love her, because let's be honest, like this inner critic wants the best for us, right? Like she cares so much for us to fit in that she's looking out for us, and it doesn't manifest in the most positive way. So the first step to changing this relationship is becoming aware of those voices that are not empowering or positive or uplifting. And most of us maybe are not aware of it because it's so normal for us, but we can start to just watch our thoughts and notice how they make us feel in our body. So if that thought we're used to having, like for me, for myself, it's that I'm not doing enough or I'm not productive enough. So when I tune into that thought and I really feel in my body that it's like closing me, it's not actually opening me to my creative power or my creative potential, it's shutting me off from my inspiration. Okay, so I'm gonna first of all, I think writing down these voices, like how your inner critic is showing up for you. Write it down, get to know her so that you can recognize her. And then we want to be compassionate towards her, like to understand that she's really there to help us, and we don't want to create this inner war, this inner conflict even worse by resisting her, by shoving her away. She's just going to come back fighting stronger and more than ever. So to really align with the creators that we are and the goddesses that we're all in this group representing and becoming, that we want her on our side. So we really do need to give her that space and understand she's there to help us, and basically be in dialogue with her. Be like, hey, I see you. You can give her a name if you want, like Shaniqua. Hey, I see you, Shaniqua. Thank you for showing up. I know you want the best for me. I know you want me to work hard and create a life that I really love. But this is not supporting me right now, so no thank you. And consciously choose another thought. Implant a new thought that's empowering you, that maybe, for example, right now you don't feel like being productive, and you just, can you allow yourself, can I allow myself to really relax into the nothingness and enjoy that nothingness for maybe the first time in my life, let's say. And just like implant new thoughts, but not shoving away the old thoughts. So I've listed 3 steps in how to deal with the inner critic. First, to become aware of her, recognize how she's showing up in your life, and you can notice by where it's not feeling good. The second step is to be compassionate, not to blame yourself or anyone. Like, I used to blame my mom for this critic voice inside of me, but that again is just creating resistance towards what is. So how can we just accept that we all come from a system that's really challenging us and doesn't allow us to be aligned with our most loving selves? Okay, so awareness, and then compassion, and then being in dialogue, having a conversation like, hey, you're not supporting me right now, so let's try something else. And just to be in that constant inner awareness and desire to feel good, because I think this is like the next step for us as empowered women, that we really want to serve and lead from our highest state, from feeling good. And like, I had this image came to me as I was preparing for this workshop. It's like the woman who's in her throne, the queen who's in her throne, and the lion is like tamed beside her. Like the beast has become her friend rather than her enemy. And this is what I'm imagining for all of us, that we can take this time to really see the critical voices and start to befriend them with love and compassion and understanding that it's really not easy, and we all go through this. We all have this inner voice. And when we actually become more soft with ourselves from this place, we can be more kind and soft with others. I would love to hear from you guys if you can write in the comments, like, how is your inner critic showing up in these days or usually? I don't know how much time I've been on here. I'm just going to flip through my notes and see if I forgot anything that I really wanted to share. Yeah, actually, there's one more thing I wanted to say, that sometimes these critical voices actually go much deeper than just like the voice that we hear. It can actually be something really deeply ingrained in us, like a trauma, maybe an experience or several experiences when we were growing up that said we internalized as being not good enough. And therefore, we created a pattern or a habit of constantly needing to either do something to fill in that void or avoid something so as not to relive that trauma. So I just want to acknowledge that sometimes bringing just layers into our awareness can be really painful and difficult and come with really deep layers. So when I was going through my deepest layers of awakening and really looking at my shadows, my guilt and my shame and my fears and everything, I actually had a therapist for the first time in my life. And what she said to me is like, Rachel, sometimes we don't have that positive, loving force for ourselves, that positive, loving voice. We don't have it. So someone else can be that positive, loving voice for us until we can learn to tap into that voice ourselves. So I feel like that's really what she did for me. And at a certain point, like, I didn't need to work with her anymore, but I really had her voice in my head, like, okay, I'm feeling ashamed right now that I'm not working hard enough, and what would my therapist say to me right now? And I just hear her voice, and like compassion would wash through me, and I just over time would give power to that voice and strengthen her, which became me, rather than the critic. So this is something else I want to acknowledge, that it's okay, it's beautiful if we need support sometimes from outside of us to find that loving voice. And I really encourage all of us to reach out to someone we trust, whether it's a friend or a therapist or a coach, to be that empowering love in our life. Everyone who's here watching me right now, I know you've been that voice for me at some point, and it's really okay. We don't have to do it alone, and that's why it's so beautiful to be women on this path, that we're really empowering ourselves by empowering each other. And I think that's basically it for now. Thank you so much, everyone watching. I didn't see if you wrote how your voice is, how your inner critic is showing up these days. So if you want to talk about it after, I'm very open. I love you all so much, and yay to new beginnings.